YouTube. I just wanted to make a video on being an only child and why I think being an only child sucked, for me anyway. Um, I think I'm an introvert. I've always been an introvert. When I was younger, I was even more introverted than I am now. I'm out of my shell a little bit. I'm not quite as introverted as I used to be. But for an only child who's an introvert like I was, um, I think it was a bad thing. I had a couple friends, but I always preferred to be alone. I like being alone. Uh, and I think because I like being alone so much, and I didn't have a brother or sister that was, maybe a year or two younger than me, around my age to play with, to maybe force me to interact more, I believe it made me socially awkward. I think for a lot of only children, we become socially awkward because we're so used to being alone that have trouble interacting with people when we're out and about. When we have friends, relationships, things like that. I know for me, even now at 41 years old, I'll be hanging out with friends, and lots of times there'll just be these long, awkward silences, and I don't know how to fill them up. Uh, I don't know how to fill up those silences. I'm not a very good conversationalist. I think because I was an only child and because I was alone so much, that I didn't develop good communication skills. Even now in this video, it's kind of hard for me to talk. I like to make brief videos like this. It forces me to talk, forces me to get my thoughts out a little bit because I'm not really good at that in social situations. Uh, so I think being an only child increases your chances of being an awkward person. Maybe if you're prone to be an extrovert, maybe being an only child isn't quite as bad. But even then, like I can point out other only children. I've gone up to people that I've seen more awkward. I'm like, "Are you an only child?" And a lot of times they say yes. And I don't know. I can just tell an only child. A lot of times we we don't know how to communicate in conversations uh, all the time. Sometimes we wind up sitting alone, or even in a group of people, we just wind up being the quiet one because we just don't know how to interact. We haven't developed the skills to interact socially, at least in my opinion. Yes, I have friends. Yes, I've been in relationships. I'm currently in a relationship. Don't know how that happens, but I know I'm awkward, and I know if someone's in a relationship with me, they have to deal with my awkwardness because I don't know how to not be awkward. I don't know how to force myself to talk more. I don't know how to force myself to communicate more. Uh, I've gotten so used to if there's a tragedy or anything bad happened in my life to not having someone to talk to and dealing with it on my own that if you're with someone in a relationship or even with you have friends, uh, you know, sometimes it's better to talk to somebody. Sometimes it's like, this happened, I'm feeling sad or depressed. Sometimes it's better to get it out. And if you're in a relationship with someone and they can tell you're sad and depressed, but you're not talking to them or telling them why, I get that that could be frustrating to them because I've learned to just deal with it by myself. Because, like I said, I didn't have anyone growing up to talk to. I didn't have a brother or sister. I wasn't really that close to my cousins, if any of them see this. When I was younger, maybe I was a little close to some of my cousins, but I would say by the time I was about 8 or 9 years old, I drifted apart from them. I'm not super close to my family. No offense to any family that might watch this. Um, I have one best friend that I've known since I was like 5. So he's pretty cool since I'm 41 years old, and he still puts up with me being awkward, my own awkward craziness. But yeah, being an only child can be lonely. Being an only child can make it difficult, especially when you want to be in a relationship because you don't know it's you think you're communicating properly, or you don't know how to express yourself, and you like being alone. You get to the point where your brain gets adjusted to being alone. So when you're out with friends, or you're out with family, or even in a relationship, you want to get away and be alone more often than I think the average person does. Uh, and you can hurt people by doing that because they think you have a problem with them because you want to be alone so much. But your brain has gotten so used to being alone and adjusted to being alone that it's hard. Like if you're in a relationship with someone, they want to see you all the time. Especially in the beginning of a relationship during that, I don't know, honeymoon phase, whatever you want to call it. Um, you want to see each other. It's normal to want to see the person you're in a relationship with. And for me, it's like, it's like I have to force myself sometimes to want to see that other person because I'm just so used to not having someone around. That's like I don't want to get worn down by seeing someone too much, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I just want to say my being an only child sucked. Experience sucked. Um, I had way too much alone time growing up. I got way too much. My brain way too adjusted to being alone, and yeah, I'm realizing that as I'm getting older, uh, I have to force myself to put myself in situations when I'm around people. I have to force myself to speak a little bit more. Uh, I know I'm awkward. I know I'm socially awkward. I just know I am. I can tell when I'm around people and they're all having conversations and laughing. I'm just sitting there, or if I'm having a conversation with someone and the conversation just abruptly ends because I don't know how to keep the conversation going because I'm not a good conversationalist uh, at all. And I attribute some of that, not all of it, but I attribute a lot of it to being an only child and stuff like that. I overshare uh, sometimes. Sometimes I don't know when to put the filter on. Uh, Again, I'm learning from that. And I'm sure there are people that have brothers and sisters who have been awkward too, or things like that. But I'm just speaking from the perspective of me being an only child. I would have liked to have had a sibling. I don't know how. I don't know how much it would change me. I think I would just. I just think I would have been better. Uh, just better socially and less awkward. I know I keep using the word awkward, but that's the word to use. So yeah, this is just me talking about what it's like to be a lonely only child. I wouldn't even call it being lonely because you get so used to being alone that you kind of go in the opposite direction. And instead of hanging around, instead of wanting to hang around people, at least for me, I didn't want to hang around people. I didn't go to parties in high school. I just didn't want to hang around people. It wasn't like I was pining, like, oh, I wish people would invite me to these parties, or oh, I wish I could hang out more with people. I didn't want to hang out more with people. So it's the opposite to me. If someone invited me to something, it was like, oh, I have to go to this thing. I have to hang out with these people. And, it really shouldn't be that way. You should want to, as social creatures, hang out with people. So I'm pretty sure, a couple past relationships have been affected by my awkwardness. Why do you like to be alone so much? You must not care for me at all, stuff like that. But I'm working on it. Um, I'm in a current relationship. I'm getting out there more. You know, I'm forcing myself to do more things out and about people, even though it's gotten a little harder with the pandemic. So live and learn, I guess. But yeah, I believe my personal opinion, and I don't like to give advice, so don't take this as advice. This is just my personal opinion. If you have one child, you should have two children at the very least, and you should try to have them within like a 4 to 5 year range of each other, so they can learn from each other. They can have their own interactions with each other. There's always someone there. It's typically the way human families have been throughout history. The only children, even now, are still kind of rare. Everyone seems to have at least two kids. And all. So anyway, sorry if I'm just rambling on and on. Just want to talk about my own experiences. Yes, I'm walking around in a circle because I think better when I walk and talk. Uh, there's another another thing I did when I was a kid. I would walk around a lot when I had to think about something and pace the floor. So I'm doing that now. So yeah, for me, being an only child sucked. Maybe there's people out there that love being an only child, love getting all the attention. The other problem with being an only child too, now I'm thinking about it before I end this video, is your parents get overprotective. And they made me scared of everything. By the time I was like 6, I was scared of everything. Don't climb a tree. Don't go in the jungle gym. You're gonna break your neck. Everything's gonna kill you. They want to wrap you up in bubble wrap. They want to protect you from falling, skinning your knee because you're the only child. They don't have that second child. It's like when people have more kids. It's not that they care less, but they realize that the kid's not made out of glass. With the first child, especially if you're the only child, if you're the only reason that your parents are parents, and this isn't just me, it's like other only children I've met, the parents like to overprotect. And that's not a good thing because it makes you paranoid. Don't wander off the block. You know, don't do this, don't do that. Everything's going to kill you, or you're going to be kidnapped. Uh, Everything was just centered around something terrible was going to happen to me because my parents were just being too protective of me. And yeah, that paranoia doesn't go away when you do that to a kid. It goes into your adulthood, and that's another thing I'm kind of I don't want to say struggling with, but something that I'm working on. But I've gotten better at that. I've been working on that for the past 20 years, getting over that. I've flown in a plane a couple times. My parents would never let me fly in a plane when I was a kid because that plane was going to crash. If I was on that plane, I was going to die. That plane was going to crash. You know, I couldn't. Don't climb a tree. I was going to break my neck. If I climbed a tree, I was going to fall and break my neck. So I had a fear of death, of dying from accidents, since as far back as I can remember. But I've gotten better with it. I've flown planes now. Um, I've gone outside in the dark. I wasn't kidnapped. You realize as you get older, some of the things your parents can lay on you that stick with you sometimes. So we would get a thunderstorm, and the lightning was going to hit me. It was going to hit the house. We were all going to die. Stuff like that. And yeah. So if you do wind up as a parent of an only child, let them climb the bars at let them climb the jungle gym at the playground. Let them climb a tree. They're not going to die. They could die. Anyone could die. That's the problem. You can't shelter your kids constantly from the fact that they could die from something. Anyone could die from anything. I could have fallen down a flight of steps in the apartment I grew up in. I'm surprised they didn't move to a first floor apartment so I wouldn't fall and break my neck going down the steps. No offense to my parents if they see this. They did the best job they could. But yeah, if you have one kid and only one kid, force yourself to let them do things. Don't try to wrap them in bubble wrap until they're 16, 17, and then put them out in the world and expect them to be adjusted and to not be awkward at all because you've already made them a little unadjusted and you've made them awkward. My friends would be doing things and I wouldn't do it because I don't want to get hurt. I could fall, and sometimes you gotta fall and get hurt. There's nothing wrong with falling and getting hurt, and you might die. Life is risk. I've flown. Like I said, I've flown. Plane could crash. I didn't die. It could have crashed. But if I was a kid and we were going to fly somewhere, there's no way. There was no way we were going to go on a plane because that plane was going to crash and I was going to die. So yeah, being overprotective, having overprotective parents when you're, is not a good thing either. But yeah. So anyway, this is just me. I think me being an only child made me socially awkward, and at least for the younger part of my early life, in my 20s, in my adulthood, it made me paranoid of everything. But I've gotten over that part. The awkwardness I still have, I'm going to have the rest of my life. You can't really help being awkward. You can just kind of work on it a little here and there, and do the best you can. So yeah, this is just me, my opinion, and yeah, but I think me being an only child, it's just I would have liked to have had a sibling, and I think I would have maybe been a little less awkward, but who knows? But I think me personally, I think being an only child is not something you should do to anybody.